To be sure you never miss a Tech Ninja video, tap on the bell icon right next to subscribe. The Apple iPhone XS Max is their newest large size phone. After last year's 10, many people said they want a bigger version, and this is their answer in a big way. Samsung, on the other hand, always had the dual variants for 2 years now, and with their latest build being the Galaxy S9 Plus. But if you put them side by side, which phone is better? I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja, and I'm gonna try my best to answer this question. So both these phones feel really similar in the hand. They're both made from glass, while the iPhone is a little bit wider and also a little bit thinner. The iPhone Max has a 6.5 2K resolution OLED panel, and that's pretty much all bezel-less except for the notch at the top. This is slightly bigger than the 6.2-inch OLED panel and the same resolution on the S9 Plus, but here you get those typical Samsung curved edges and a bit of chin up top and bottom. Both screens are HDR10 compliant, but the iPhone has the wide color gamut. They also both share 3D touch, although the iPhone Max has it all around the phone and the Samsung only has it towards the bottom. I think this is the first time ever I would say an iPhone screen looks better than Samsung's screen. And I think the wide color gamut changes the game here. I just think when you compare side by side, looking at a video, this video specifically, I think the iPhone screen just does a better job at showing the colors. It's a little more punchier, and I just think it looks better with details. Now, I will say with the Galaxy devices, you can change the screen and you can modify and tweak things to your liking. But even after doing that, I just think the iPhone screen looks better. Another thing to note is that these devices are made from glass, and just like any other flagship from 2018, they get so many fingerprints, they get smudges, and they also can crack easily if you drop it. So I do recommend at least getting a deep brand skin. Not only does it add some grip, you don't get scratches and smudges, you can also get some pretty slick colors and different styles for your phone. Hit the link down below to debrand your device. Now, both phones also come with stereo speakers, and I'll let you be the judge of which stereo speakers sound better. I know it may be hard to hear it through the camera, but I will say personally, I think the iPhone just sounds a little bit more clean and more crisp. And also it sounds more wide, if that makes sense. It's nice that both phones come with IP68 water and dust resistance, means you can dunk either phone up to 2 meters in water up to 30 minutes. And that's a welcome addition for both phones, really nice to see that. Now, let's talk about the engine that powers both phones. On the iPhone Max, you get the all-new A12 Bionic 6-core chipset with 4 GB of RAM. This chip from Apple is the world's first 7nm processor, making the Max much more faster than previous generations. It's actually 30% faster than last year's 10. The S9 Plus, on the other hand, comes with Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 octa-core processor with 6 GB of RAM, and that's pretty much the flagship standard for 2018. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I mean, it's zippy, very fast, and there's a good reason why they're using the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. It's the best processor to put into any phone right now. But how does this compare to Apple's A12 processor? Overall, I think performance depends on software too. Android 8.0 on the S9 Plus and Samsung Experience Launcher stays very smooth and consistent throughout. There's no real lag when using it, and there's plenty of customization options within the software, like changing themes and icons. Also, you have handy features like split screen or picture-in-picture mode, which takes really good use of that large screen. I know people want to talk about Samsung software and bloatware, but those days are pretty much done. TouchWiz is gone, and Samsung Experience gets leaner and lighter and gets better with every Galaxy phone. On the iPhone, you get standard iOS 12. It's basic and you can't customize much or change anything. Navigation is done via gestures, which keeps everything smooth, but you can't even change the gestures to make them your own, so you're stuck with the way they designed it. You have 4 GB of RAM, and I know what you're gonna think is like 4 versus 6, but in my opinion, the iPhone actually runs better. It's definitely a software thing, and obviously Samsung has a lot more going on in the background as far as all the customization options, but at the end of the day, the software is more fluid on the iPhone. But what do you prefer, customization or fluidity and a more simple experience? Those are things you need to ask yourself before deciding between the two. There are things like Apple's Face ID, which works really good, and it almost makes the lack of fingerprint scanner forgivable. Almost. Samsung offers things like Face to Unlock and Iris to Unlock, which actually does a pretty good job to getting into your device. It works really good in low light, and even when there's a ton of light, it works too. I found the Face ID in bright light, just can't find my face to unlock. Now, I really wish there was an upgrade or a setting where I can just look at my phone, it unlocks, and that's it. But now I have to look at my phone, it unlocks, and swipe up. That's just an extra step I don't want to do. Now, both phones have their own virtual assistant, and many people don't like both virtual assistants. You have Bixby and then you have Siri. I think it's a toss-up between the two of which one is better, but Samsung does have the dedicated Bixby button, which I find myself pressing it a lot when pulling it out of my pants pocket and stuff like that. So there's a way to disable it. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link down below to my tips and tricks for the Galaxy Note 9, where I talk about things you can do to use the phone a little bit better. Let's talk about cameras on both of these devices. They both come with dual 12 megapixel camera setups with a wide angle and also telephoto lens. The iPhone comes with an f1.8 and an f2.2, and it's a new sensor for better pictures than last year's iPhone 10. And beyond it being just a newer sensor, comparing it to last year's iPhone 10 is just some software tweaks. The S9 Plus actually has a variable aperture between f1.5 and 2.4 and f2.4 lens. There's 2x optical zoom on both phones, which is nice, but how do these phones translate to real-world performance? I feel that the S9 Plus camera has been fairly untouched over the years by Samsung. It's very good outdoors, and HDR performance and colors are just fantastic outside. Outside, I'll take this almost every other camera out there. I think it just has a way that makes the clouds look really good, make people look really good. It just looks great. But when you take that camera inside, things start to look muddy. You start to lose color and detail just very fast, and I'm not a fan of a Samsung camera inside, period. The iPhone though, I would say is just a solid camera in all situations. I wouldn't say it's the best in any situation, but in all situations it does well. So it does have this portrait lighting feature, which in my opinion is a gimmick, but it is a feature that people actually use, so I will have to give them some credit for that. But the iPhone actually added a new feature, which is like Samsung's Live Focus. After you take a picture, you can adjust the blur effect in the background. I find that the iPhone does it better than Samsung. Samsung's been doing it for 2 years, but at the same time, I think the iPhone just does it better now. And I do wish the front-facing camera on the iPhone was wider. While the Galaxy front-facing camera is very wide, looks good as far as the focal length, but I think the skin looks muddy. They do this beauty effect, which I just don't like. You can't turn it off either, so it makes your skin look really smooth, and some people may like that, but me overall, I don't like it. It actually can make some of the photos look blurry. You just don't have a sharp front-facing image, and kind of bums me out. Video department, the iPhone had a major upgrade with stereo sound, and you know what? I think it's neck to neck with Samsung. While I'll give Samsung a little bit more credit, the S9 Plus, because I think the stabilization looks better on the S9 Plus compared to the iPhone. Now, I wish I could talk about battery life, but I've only had the iPhone for a couple of days, so I can't get into battery life just yet. But I will report the S9 Plus battery life is really good. So I wonder what the iPhone XS Max is actually gonna give us, but time will tell. But I'll put it in my full review. So if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe right now. I think the bottom line is you have to consider price. The S9 Plus will set you back around $740 right now, albeit it's a much older phone now. But the same gigabyte of the iPhone XS Max, you'll run at $1,099 with no room to expand the storage, while the S9 Plus can go up to 512 gigabytes. And of course, at the end of the day, the decision is up to you and what you're comfortable with. What ecosystem are you in? What do your friends use? Do you need iMessage, or do you prefer to have a customized experience? Those things are questions you need to ask. Both phones are phenomenal, but when it comes to software support over time, Apple does a better job at that. Although Samsung is better with updates, people have been waiting for their update for Android Oreo for a long time, while Android Pie is already out, and I don't know when Samsung is getting it. Overall, this is the best iPhone ever, and now it's bigger. And a lot of people have been waiting for a bigger iPhone. And if you're ready to make that jump, I think now is a great time. Anyways, guys, Kevin the Tech Ninja here. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace.